Welcome to the Conscious Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss the how-to of creating conscious leadership for business, life, and the world. With ordinary people doing extraordinary things and being truly in control of their own health, wealth, and happiness. Knowledge plus action with a plan creates magical results. Introducing your host, Julie Hogbin, author, international speaker, mentor, disruptor and creator of conscious leadership and property investor living in the UK. So as promised in the previous episode, I said I would talk about creating and writing goals and what goals are and how to create them. So here we go. So what is a goal? I thought I would read you chapter 5 or part of chapter 5, factor 5 in my book, The Life-Changing Magic of Setting Goals, which is on Amazon. If you want to go and buy it, please do. Just to say the bonus on the front cover is not acceptable. But if you want to buy the book, I'll give you a 15-minute call with me if you've got any questions after reading the book. Well, there's an offer for a sunny day in the UK. So factor 5, creating and writing goals. What is a goal? So the definition of goal is that it is an observable and measurable end result having one or more objectives to be achieved within a more or less fixed time frame. Now this is interesting. People write plans, write goals, write them down, put them in their bottom drawer as such, never look at them from one year to the next and then wonder why they haven't achieved them. Goals are not set in stone. You can, and if they are set in stone and you never look at them, review them, they are proven to be demotivational when you realise you're not on the path to achieving them. So work the plan and plan the work both ways round. Keep it in mind, and if you're not achieving the goal, change it. Extend the deadline. Now, not forever and ever and ever, because that's demotivational as well, but change the deadline. You know, delay it by a month. Things happen. We live in the real world. Life happens. Things happen. So, you know, think about what it is for you and the reality. And if you're setting yourself a goal that's unachievable, just stop it. So the dictionary definition and the synonyms linked to goal. So number 1 is the pair of posts linked by a crossbar and typically with a net between, forming a space into and over which the ball has to be sent in order to score. And then the second one, this is really important. The object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. Now I'll do more on change, but the desired result is phenomenally powerful and you have to be able to see it. Synonyms, however you say that. Aim, objective, object, grail, holy grail. End, target, design, desire, result, intention, intent, plan, purpose, idea, point, object of the exercise. That will always give you a motivation if you know what the object of the exercise is. Ambition, aspiration, wish, dream, hope, resolve, and the raison d'etre, the reason of life. And I say that it's true. If we don't have goals, if we're not driven by something, and we are always driven to achieve something, which is not always seen positively by others, but we are all goal driven all of the time. So why did I include the definitions? Because whether it's business or life or both, the common dictionary and where goals are mentioned, it's very clearly the same description and intent. Getting something completed in a time frame, in a direction, with an intent and purpose. Napoleon Hill talks about this, and he says what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. So bear that in mind. Evan Pagan talked about and wrote about inevitability thinking, which is around the thinking and acting as if what you are doing is a foregone conclusion because you set up the conditions for it to happen. So think about what you have to do and what you have to set up and the environment you need to work in and think in to make your goal happen. And he says you view the outcome you want as inevitable. You've already done it. You create the conditions And I'll say conditions will directly affect your results. It's one of the reasons why I have moved from a shared office to a single office, because I recognised that the environment and the culture of the shared office wasn't conducive to me achieving what I wanted to achieve. Warren Buffett says, if you can tell me who your heroes are, I can tell you how you're going to turn out in life. And Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So think about who you surround yourself with, even in a time of lockdown. Who are you connecting with? Who are you listening to? Who are you spending your time with? So 6-stage summary. I'm abbreviating this chapter because it is quite a longish chapter. So a 6-stage summary. Goals are created on a number of levels, and in this factor we get to the nitty-gritty of how you create them and write them to make sense and create accountability. I mentioned accountability in the previous episode. So step 1, first you create the mission, then the vision or big picture of what you want to do with your life or business, or within the next 3, 5, 10, 100 years. If you go to Japan, they have 1,000 years goals. Now, most businesses, because of the change that is that's escalating, and it is, everything's getting quicker, most businesses now don't have much more than a 3-year goal. So even if you set that as your first stage, it's a good start. But goals can be written to a yearly plan, a 6-monthly plan, a 3-monthly plan, a monthly plan. It's just the fact that you've got them and you've got them written down. Those that have them written down achieve far more than those that, I'm going to say, just say them or just talk about them aimlessly. The point of having the mission and the vision, so this first point, is that it will help you identify the large-scale goals that you want to achieve. So one of my goals for 2020 is to positively impact a minimum of 250,000 people across the globe. Now that's just for 2020. Now, if I achieve that by June, I will increase the figure, but it's a minimum of 250,000. So it's not restricting me, it's expanding me. Secondly, you break the vision down into a strategic plan by subject or area, department, division, sections. 3, the strategic plan is then developed for each section to shorter targets. Probably annually to start with, that you must hit to reach your lifetime legacy goals. So I've just already mentioned, it can be shorter than a year. But if you start with a year, you then break that down into 6 months, 3 months and monthly. So what this does, it allows you to check your progress and keep you on track, or adjust it as you go. You can break it down into weekly, daily, hourly if you desire. You can break it down into 5 minutes if you really want to get that specific. And the 6th stage, once you've got your plan, you start working on it to achieve the goals. The plan becomes a living, breathing document with living, breathing actions. The point about breaking it down is that if you've got a massive goal and you've not broken it down, it can become overwhelming, and we don't need any more overwhelm in our life than we've currently got, that's for sure. This being recorded in April 2020 in the UK. So the more you can break the goals down into manageable steps and bite-sized chunks, the better off you'll be to start with. So in the previous episode, I mentioned about SMART, and I also said that I had created my own, if you like, acronym and model of giving you an idea of how to write your goals. Now, I'm not saying SMART isn't any good. It is. It was developed by Peter Drucker in the 50s. There are bits missing with the SMART acronym and the way of writing goals, although that's the one that everybody knows. And I am still to this day talking to chief execs and directors about how to write SMART goals. So people say they know it, but it doesn't mean to say they implement it. And as I very often say, to know is to grow, but you only grow when you put things into action. So to know, to grow, put it into action. You have to do the two things. So let me just take you briefly through the SMART acronym, because it is good, I'm not saying it isn't, and then I'll expand on it into the one that I have set. So SMART, what does it mean? This is the original model of it. The S is for specific. So in the context of developing objectives, specific means that we describe an observable action, behaviour or achievement that is also linked to a measure, number, percentage or frequency. Measurable. A measure is a method or procedure that allows the assessment of the behaviour or action on which the objective is focused. It may well be a number or percentage, either positive or negative, a pound figure, dollar figure, all described here as a quantity. You will also want to think about how you measure quality. Another aspect of measure is that you need to clearly be able to say the goal has been met, allowing for the celebration. You know, celebrate your wins. That's a Julie addition rather than in the original SMART acronym. Achievable. People need to be capable of achieving the goals set for them. This is when you're in business. So if you set goals for them, rather than gaining the buy-in, anybody needs to be capable of achieving the goals. There needs to be a good likelihood of success. However, achievable does not mean easy or simple. That's to do with motivation. Effective objectives need to be stretching. Setting objectives that are plainly unrealistic does not motivate, and people will apply the energy or enthusiasm to a task that's futile. So resources should be considered on the achievable side. Realistic. It is important to evaluate your situation honestly and recognise which goals are realistic and which are a little far-fetched. Ask yourself if you have all the things you need to complete your goal, such as skill, resources, time and knowledge. And time-bound. Somewhere in the objective there needs to be a date. The date needs to be specific, a day, a month and a year. Research around what types of goals motivate shows that a specific date, 31st of August 2020, or 2021, 22, however, whatever, is far more motivating than a vague goal such as by the end of August. It's useful to include a time as well, especially if you are working with others, and that links into the accountability. Now that's great, it works. And there are bits missing out of that. It's not mentioned in the original work. So I come up with something called structure. So let me just take you through what that means. S is system, T is target, R is relevant, U is understand, C is communicate, T is time. The second U is understood, and this is specifically when you're working with other people and with yourself. R is review, and E is evaluate. And you know, I've worked with a lot of people over a lot of years with this, and I can quite honestly, hand on heart, everything I do is honest actually, I don't even know why I say that anymore, hand on heart, this is a better process to work for the 21st century. So the system. You need a system to record what is going on and to use for performance review. This is yours as well as anybody else's. You really do not want to be scrambling around at a later point attempting to find information on how you or your business are doing. This is a foundation stone for you and your business. It will provide you with a story of what's gone on, both the successes and also where you can improve. If no system exists, be prepared to set aside time to actually monitor response rates and to create the system. It may be initially a simple filing system, which then can be developed into a bigger process. It can be on or offline to start, and I would suggest that it ultimately ends up securely online, backed up and forever available. Target. This is absolutely vital. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it, review it or evaluate it, and you won't know when you've achieved it. The other side to this is without a measure, you cannot be held accountable by yourself or by others. Remember, the plane is off track up to 95% of the time, and it reaches its destination because it knows where it is going, and believe it or not, most planes get there within 5 minutes of their programmed arrival time. The automatic flying system corrects frequently to get the plane back on track. So a plane doesn't actually fly in a direct line, it flies in a bit of a zigzag. Your target must have a measure within it, a figure, a percentage, plus or minus, negative or positive, a comparator, a value, something for you to know it has been achieved or not. And all of these are basically around quantity. But what you also need to think about is, how do you measure quality? Quality is very often described through behaviour such as tone of voice, words used, or through customer polls, reviews, testimonials, feedback, surveys, visible actions such as a smile or eye contact, recording telephone calls for training purposes. Your measures can become your standards of acceptable performance or the minimum level of acceptable performance, and your key performance indicators, so KPIs. Has to be relevant. So what does relevant mean? It means that the objective is important to the overarching mission and vision, and you can explain the link. This is key. Relevant to why you are doing this. What is your driver? This relates back to your originating why, your originating purpose, and the purpose of the other individuals within your business. It has to be relevant to you. It has to, otherwise you will not do it. Pure and simple. It needs to be deep and a burning desire. Work out why it is relevant to your family, your business partner, life partner, joint venture partner, funder, and to anybody else that's involved. The relevance gains the buy-in. When it can be explained and communicated well, it will maintain motivation and enlist people to help you. And this is where you share your goal. This is one of your sales tools, and you need to be able to express it in a clearly understood manner with passion. Understand. You need to be very, very clearly understand why you're doing what you are doing, and very, very clearly understand the consequences of you not doing it. Some of the goals we have can be due to a life or death situation. I see people every day doing things that will get them closer to a quicker death, and they still do them, even when they have been told of the consequences. Just a couple of examples. It's a diabetic sending their sugar levels sky high through eating chocolate on a regular basis, or an alcoholic with liver and kidney damage continuing to drink. I'll share a true story on here, and I'm reading it out of the book. A neighbour that I did live next to a number of years ago ignored all of the red overdue bills until she was evicted from her home and the house was boarded up. I came home from work and she was sitting on her doorstep. She hadn't told her children. She had 2 children living with her. She hadn't told her children, and I do sometimes truly wonder what her goal was. She found the money soon enough to pay the bills, but not before the children came home from work and couldn't get into their own home. I mean, what was her goal? What was her driver? Because she ignored everything that come through the court cases. She ignored everything. I spoke to her about it afterwards, not to any depth. Of course, none of my business, but she shared what she had actually done. Our emotions play a massive part of our success. Emotion is energy in motion, so remember, where your focus goes, your energy flows as well. You have limited time and limited energy, so make sure you're focusing on the right thing, and make sure you understand why you're doing the thing that you want to do. Don't do it because somebody else is telling you to do it unless you buy into it. You understand yourself. C is communicate. And I'll say communicate, communicate, and communicate that all that need to know. This creates an understanding for them on what you are doing and what they have to do to support you. And if in business, to earn a salary. It creates accountability for you because you're sharing. When you express your goal to the wide world, you're making a commitment verbally that you will achieve it. Remember, earlier in the book I wrote about trust and commitment. Obviously not going to cover that in this section. It will allow people to ask you questions. There's the joy of reading your own book. I'm reading it wrong, which will help you to reassess and clarify if you need to. They may ask you a question you hadn't even thought of. It will allow you to share your passion, and the more people know, the more they may be able to help you. Get your message out there to all who will listen. Don't bore them. Speak with passion. What's the elevator speech? Is it supposed to be 60 seconds? Work out how you can succinctly communicate your message. The more you and others hear your message, as long as it's supported by action, you and them will believe it. And again, I put the offer out. If anybody wants any help or support with this, please get in touch with me through any of my social media channels. I'll help you with this. I mean, I'm in a bit of a lockdown at the moment, but even saying that, even when lockdown's over, if anybody wants any help, you know where I am. Find me. Time. So we're still in structure. When do you want it done by, and how long do you want the task to take? If the objective is large or project related, the time-based element may require a start date, an end date, and ongoing review dates and key milestones. By agreeing the dates for milestones or review at the start of the objective owner is clear on what is expected and by when. If the date is missed, the project plan can be adjusted to suit. So never set the end date with no wriggle room. If something needs to be completed by Friday, set a complete by somebody else, and by you in some respects, set a completion date of Wednesday. Then if something unexpected comes up, you still have the 2 days to work with. If you get it completed earlier, you can exceed expectations, both yours and others. Some people work far better when under pressure with a deadline looming. I do actually, and so did the guy that interviewed me for his podcast last week. Adil Amasi is a copywriter. He works under extreme pressure most of the time. Try and provide you with an urgency of the project and allows you the space to work on the important things with planning. Be honest with yourself and the time you have. There is nothing worse than setting a goal that's unachievable due to time constraints. With the propensity of humans to beat themselves up over what they have not achieved rather than to look at what they have achieved, do not put yourself in the firing line of yourself. If you're taking on something new, work out in advance how much time you can spend on the new project and set yourself some realistic goals. And as Peter Drucker said, who, as I mentioned earlier, set up the SMART thing, results come from doing the right thing, not from doing things right. So perfection delays us. The goal has to be understood, so we're still in structure. The goal has to be understood. Your goals and plans need to be understood by others, whether your family, your business partners, your staff team or suppliers or any third parties you may be dealing with. Communication and the relevance of the goal to you and others is key to this understanding. But you need to really know they do understand, so get them, if appropriate, to tell you what they think you said. Do it well and it will deepen your relationships. More importantly, you need to understand why you are doing what you are doing. If you do not truly understand and buy into your goal, your unconscious will sabotage your efforts and it will definitely affect the message you're giving to others. Review. If the objective process is not thought through and resources and constraints not identified, then don't be surprised when you hit a hurdle that can derail you from your original plan. Regular reviews will clearly identify if you're on track and not before it becomes a disaster. It will stop the disaster happening. You'll be able to do something about it. Identify resources you will need and review and revise as required. Time is a resource along with many others, as mentioned in an earlier chapter in the book. If you are working with mentors, accountability partners or business partners or coaches, set review dates and review progress. Hold yourself accountable. There's different types of coaching, different types of mentors. So work out with them what you need, what you want. And then the final E is to evaluate. So why do you evaluate? You evaluate to celebrate success, build it in through the goal. Evaluate to realign the goal. Evaluate to learn for next time. Evaluate to improve systems. Evaluate to speed the process. Evaluate to deepen relationships. Evaluate to assess the finance costs. Evaluate to assess profit margins. Evaluate to reward contribution. And evaluate because you can and see what comes up. Evaluation is used to assess merit, worth and significance using criteria that you have set out through your standards. It will support you in making decisions, gaining insight through reflection for successful practice and identifying future change. It's vital. We are all goal driven. Let's make those goals visible to ourselves about why we're doing what we're doing. Let's make those goals visible for our business, for the people around us, for what we want. Let's publish them. So a goal I'm publishing now, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but by May 17th I will have my second personally written book out. And I'm going to do it on stress management now, so a public declaration. And if you listen to this and I've not done it, tell me, but I will. I'm holding myself to account for it. Anyway, to know is to grow, but you only grow when you put what you know into action. Take care, have a great day. If you've got any questions, please ask me.
Thanks for listening to the Conscious Leadership Podcast.
You can contact Julie on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and hear me out. Please subscribe to her YouTube channel for how-to videos and more content. And please message Julie to have your questions answered. Until next time, remember, knowledge plus action with a plan creates magical results. See it, say it, write it, believe it, and achieve it.